Welcome to VGK Today, a daily podcast providing you an inside look at the Vegas Golden Knights 2025 Stanley Cup Playoff run. I'm Justin Russo with the Golden Knights on Wednesday, May 7th, after the Golden Knights fell 4-2 to the Edmonton Oilers last night in Game 1 of their second round series. The Knights got off to a hot start in the series opener and built a 2-0 lead in the first period, but they just couldn't hold on the rest of the way as the Oilers chipped away and used 2 late goals to seal the victory. Many different storylines to cover from Game 1, and after the break, to help break them all down, we turn to Brian McCormack. A reminder that football is back in Henderson this spring as the Vegas Nighthawks take the field at Lee's Family Forum. The Nighthawks, fresh off of a win last Saturday at Lee's Family Forum, remain home this weekend as they face the San Antonio Gunslingers. Catch the fast-paced, family-friendly action of the IFL with tickets available at nighthawksfootball.com. Also a reminder that you can always check out the official VGK mobile app because it's the easiest way to keep up with the team during the Stanley Cup Playoffs. Plus, fans with the app will have the chance to win tickets to select playoff games. Download it today for Apple or Android.
Mark Stone got T-Mobile Arena off to a raucous start, but it was Zach Hyman and the Edmonton Oilers who had the last laugh as the Oilers took Game 1 at T-Mobile Arena. Hello, friends. I'm Brian McCormack. We'll recap Game 1, talking through some of the early narratives of this series, such as who elevated their play as Game 1 went along, the task for the Golden Knights in keeping Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in check, the neutral zone play for the Oilers and how the Golden Knights can respond, and Commissioner Gary Bettman was in town and in the building, and we sat down for a few moments with him as well. So put your lunch pail on the table and take out your track shoes because round 2 is off and running. Right off the top, what you heard a lot of discussion about after Game 1 was the ability of the Oilers to raise their level of play as the game went along, and for the Golden Knights, how they'll need to respond to that going forward, because it is not a new development for the Edmonton Oilers to get stronger as the game goes along. They've been doing it for about 2 weeks now, dating back to their first round series with the LA Kings. But for the Golden Knights, they got exactly the start that they would have hoped for. An early 4-minute power play on a high-sticking double minor to Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. The Golden Knights converting right away as the continued strong play of Jack Eichel, Mark Stone, William Karlsson as well. But that top line for the Golden Knights was the one that was going, and it was those three, along with Shea Theodore, who factored in on the power play goal for the Golden Knights to open the scoring early.
To the right half wall again for Olofsson. Up top, Theodore. He shoots. Score! Power play goal. Mark Stone parked at the left side of the crease. Vegas has the first goal of round 2.
So the Golden Knights had an immediate 1-0 lead as a double deflection. First William Karlsson, then off the shoe tops of Mark Stone, gave the Golden Knights a 1-0 lead, and the Golden Knights would add to that lead after the Oilers had a couple of opportunities of their own, couple of pucks off the goalpost from Trent Frederick and Adam Henrique. It was Jack Eichel doing what Jack Eichel has done so well in this postseason, especially over the course of the last 4 games. His zone entries, using speed, using strength, pushing everyone back, and what that's created for Mark Stone. We saw something similar against Minnesota in Game 5 of the opening series. Eichel on the right wing, pushing back, drawing everyone down below the dots, and then finding the trailer, Mark Stone. Corey Perry left his feet. Mark Stone with patience, able to swivel around him and beat Calvin Pickard between the pads.
Back towards the middle, hit a skate. Eichel gets position on Perry. Speeds ahead. 2-on-2. Eichel on the right to the third man, Stone. Stone down the slot. Scores! 2 goals in the first period of Game 1 for Mark Stone. 2-0 Golden Knights. 11 minutes to play in the first.
So for the Golden Knights, the ideal start, a 2-0 lead. But, I think we've had opportunity to talk about over the last couple of days, particularly because of how the Winnipeg Jets and St. Louis Blues ended their series, a Jets multi-goal comeback win, late and dramatic, 2 goals to force overtime, and then, of course, the overtime winner for Adam Lowry in Winnipeg to send them to the second round. And then it was a multi-goal comeback in Game 7 for the Dallas Stars as well, with the Mikko Rantanen show, the hat trick in the third period, to take down the Colorado Avalanche. So there haven't been an overwhelming number of multi-goal comeback wins, but there have been several through the course of these playoffs. In 50 playoff games after tonight's action, we've seen 5 multi-goal comeback wins, and Edmonton has 2 of them tonight, and also against the LA Kings, the dramatic 2-goal late comeback that eventually ended in overtime. But, for the Oilers, that's not even counting their multi-goal comeback in Game 1 against the Kings, a game that they lost, but overcame a 4-0 deficit to make things interesting into the dying moments of Game 1 against the Kings. So this is an Oilers team that has had no problem coming back in hockey games. As a matter of fact, they've done it to this point better than any playoff team ever has. 5 straight comeback wins for the Edmonton Oilers after tonight's action. That is the first team in NHL history to have 5 straight comeback wins in the playoffs. And again, we'll take a look at a little bit of kind of how they've done it. The Oilers have outscored opponents 18-6 in third periods and overtime. 18-6. They are a -3 goal differential in first periods. They are a -4 goal differential in second periods. They are a +11 in third periods. And boy, has that been the difference for the Edmonton Oilers. And that kind of calls in our first narrative that we heard about tonight, which is the importance of raising your level throughout the game. And Bruce Cassidy addressed in his post-game remarks, essentially saying they got better as the game went along, and we didn't.
They look like they did against LA the latter part of the series, especially when they got going. Like they elevated their game today, and I don't think we did halfway through the game. I think it's that simple. They're just better than us, and you could almost on the bench see that we needed to get string some positive shifts together to start the third, right? Because we got out of the second, but they probably felt pretty good about it. They're like, hey, we're right there. And then they get a lucky one to start. So now they're really on. So we needed to build our game from there better and get all 4 lines getting rolling and getting playing. But they did that better than us the second half of the game.
And that was Bruce Cassidy. And again, it's an Oilers team, -3 in the first, -4 in the second, +11 in the third. Golden Knights have been pretty steady across the board this postseason. -2 in first periods, -1 in second periods, -2 in third periods. And again, some of those figures a little bit slanted by the Minnesota Wild outputs in games 2 and 3 of the first round. But for the Golden Knights, been fairly steady. In this one tonight, again, after a terrific start to the first period, the Corey Perry goal late in the first certainly gives the Oilers life. That was a goal for Perry that was scored with about 3.5 to go in the first period, and off a very strong stretch pass from John Klingberg. We'll talk about that a little bit in a moment as well. But that gave the Oilers some life. And in the second period, it was all Oilers. The Oilers outshot the Golden Knights 12-1. The Golden Knights were not without opportunities in that second period. Jack Eichel had a phenomenal look on a pass not intended for him that went through the high slot. It kind of was sifted through a maze of skates and found Eichel just above the hash marks, and he ripped it right off the glass. It might have been blocked in front, but that was a prime look for Eichel, and that didn't connect. But the Golden Knights didn't have a lot of great looks beyond that. Having said that, though, the Golden Knights also went into the third period with a 2-1 lead still. They were able to maintain that lead throughout the middle 20, but it was an Oilers team that was finding momentum from it, an Oilers team that knows that they've gotten better as hockey games have progressed. And after the game, Chris Knobloch talked about the importance of his team not sulking after being unable to break through in that second period, but using the positive momentum from it and using that to break through in the third.
Players have seen a lot, and a lot of good things, a lot of bad things, and they know that during the playoffs things fluctuate. There's a lot of things that can stress out the team, and no matter what happens, I think we handle it really well. And tonight's an excellent example of 2 things come to mind. Is one, we played a really good second period. We have nothing to show for it, and there was no panic, and we just came out in the third and continued business. Another one was, Connor Brown's penalty. We have a kill late in the game where we needed that kill, and it's very difficult. We felt it was unfortunate to call that. No slight on the referees. Like, that play happened so quickly that, but I don't think Connor Brown could have did anything to avoid the goalie. And here we have a kill that we needed to get. And, of course, we get that kill, and we're able to continue playing on from there. But a lot of credit to our guys being able to handle.
And they would break
like
through
that
early in the third period with the Golden Knights still leading 2-1. It was just 58 seconds into the third period when a circus effort from Leon Draisaitl tied the game at 2.
It's Tanner Pearson with Eichel and Stone. Point shot, Bouchard deflected. Hill got a piece of his glove, then it's banked in. Wild scramble like a ping pong ball, and the Oilers have tied it 2-2 a minute into the third period. Leon Draisaitl leads the celebration live for Edmonton.
And the goal for Leon Draisaitl, I thought it was a night defensively where I thought the Golden Knights did a really good job against Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, who are two players, you could argue, certainly many would argue, the two best players in the world. And, in a lot of instances, you're going to hope to contain them if you can't outright stop them. And the Golden Knights did a pretty nice job of that. Connor McDavid had 2 assists tonight, but he had 4 shots on goal. He had 4 blocked. He had another that missed the net. Leon Draisaitl, 2 shots on goal, 1 blocked, and 1 missed the net. And again, in the interest of containing them as best you can, if you give up a goal to Leon Draisaitl and you say, well, where did he score it from? Well, he scored from below the goal line on a puck that was about knee-high that he batted out of the air and banked in off the goaltender. And you know what? You'll tip your cap and you'll say, okay, well, you did what you could. Sometimes world-class players are going to make world-class plays. But Bruce Cassidy talked about in his post-game availability, that was the speed of Connor McDavid pushing everyone back. McDavid able to drop it back to the point where Bouchard lets a shot go that goes fluttering over the top of the net. And again, Draisaitl just finding it, batting it at midair. And a pinball goal that there's not much Aiden Hill can do about that, not much that the Golden Knights can do about that. But the Oilers kept the pedal down to the floor. Oilers with 6 shots in the third period, Golden Knights with 6 as well. There wasn't a lot of room in that third period, but again, for the Oilers who have had so much confidence in third periods, outscoring opponents 18-6 in third periods, that's where they've made their hay. That's why they've had so much comeback success, and Corey Perry talked about how the Oilers have been able to maintain that medal.
I just think our game doesn't change. You look at how we play and how we've scored. We scored some 6-on-5 goals, but tonight our game didn't change. We didn't turn the puck over. We just kept coming at them, kept putting the puck deep, and then eventually we made some plays off the rush. And Himes with a great shot, Brownie, great individual effort, and that's how it's done. And I can't say enough about our team
and
game.
For the Golden Knights, one thing that's going to need a little bit of an adjustment in the rest of this series, and that's what Game 1 is about. I mean, Game 1, you get reactions and you get overreactions, no question. But certainly there's something you can learn, whether it's who's setting the tone of the series. Certainly the Golden Knights with an early lead in the first period. No one likes to chase the game, but the Oilers don't really chase the game. They'll stick with what they're doing, and they'll try to wear you down over time. And as Corey Perry kind of alluded to there, that's what they do. They have the offensive weapons that they're going to get their opportunities to get back in hockey games. And tonight they won the puck possession battle, but something else that the Oilers gave the Golden Knights trouble with throughout was they were able to break pucks out cleanly out of their own end. And when you listen to the Oilers media, the Edmonton media, I should say, after the game, there was a lot of praise for John Klingberg, who's had to take on a bit of an elevated role with the injury to Matthias Ekholm, who's not available to the Oilers. And, of course, for the Golden Knights, Alex Pietrangelo was a late scratch in this one due to illness. That's certainly an impact for a Golden Knights team. No Pietrangelo, no Pavel Dorofeev, a 30-goal scorer. Those things absolutely matter. But this was a game where the Oilers a couple times able to stretch the puck through the neutral zone and kind of catch the Golden Knights in deep. The Corey Perry goal in the first period, John Klingberg with a stretch pass, one of the few times that the Oilers were able to get the McDavid line out there, not against the Eichel line. The Golden Knights weren't able to get the Eichel line over the boards in time, and instead it was the Wall line that was out there against McDavid. And the stretch pass from Klingberg beat 2 players up the ice, and with numbers, McDavid was able to slide it down low to Perry, who had a tuck in front. So That was, again, a long pass that beat the first wave of the VGK forecheck, and the Oilers have numbers, and they're going to make something out of it off the rush. The game-winning goal for Zach Hyman is a play where Brandon Saad brought the puck into the zone. He lost the puck, but the Golden Knights are still back. They still have numbers back. But Tomas Hertl goes ahead on the forecheck in the neutral zone. That's fine. Brandon Saad heads off to the bench, and for the Golden Knights, they didn't get back in the play quickly enough. So, a puck up ice where the Golden Knights had bodies back in position, that change made them a little bit loose in their backtracking into their own zone, and it's a layered attack for the Oilers that eventually allows an open look for Zach Hyman.
Nugent Hopkins enters the zone on the left. To the right, a drive, score! Zach Hyman picked the spot, and the Oilers have their first lead in Game 1. 3-2 Edmonton with 3 minutes to go in the third. Zach Hyman's third of the playoffs after he put up 27 in the regular season.
And that was another stretch pass by Klingberg that again beat the Golden Knights up the ice. So you heard Bruce Cassidy discuss a little bit in his post-game remarks that there were a couple of mistakes defending the Oilers off the rush. But this is an Oilers team that is going to do a lot off the rush. And I think what the Golden Knights did, especially with Jack Eichel, with his line, Stone and Karlsson did defensively against McDavid and Draisaitl, I think they did a lot well. Draisaitl and McDavid were on the ground a lot. They took a lot of contact in this one. And for a series that had a grinding nature to it against Minnesota last week, I don't know that Matt Boldy and Kirill Kaprizov took as much of a thumping as the Golden Knights would want to do against McDavid and Draisaitl. And in this one, it was physical. It was physical against McDavid and Draisaitl, and they were forced to the outside. They were forced to play under pressure. And when they let the puck go, it was still 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, bang. And that's something that the Golden Knights are going to want to maintain. So, and again, that's a night where Draisaitl has a goal and an assist. McDavid had 2 assists. They still find ways to be productive. But you need to take away their time and space, and you need to make them feel a physical toll throughout this series. And what the Golden Knights will hope will be, they're not hoping for a long series. They'd settle for 5, but they understand it could be a long series. And if they're able to keep wearing McDavid and Draisaitl down physically, the war of attrition over time can certainly benefit the VGK. But in this one, for the VGK, neutral zone wasn't as clean as they wanted to be. The Oilers were able to stretch the ice and make this a little more track meetish than the Golden Knights would want. And the Golden Knights had 7 shots on goal over the final 2 periods. Obviously, they know that's not something that they would have, that they intend to have continue. But it was a night where the Eichel, Stone, Karlsson line was great in the first period and had opportunities. For the Golden Knights, no one else really got going offensively. And for the Golden Knights, they got a power play in the third period on a Connor Brown goaltender interference where he was... you could argue he took a bump from Brett Howden. Certainly that's what Chris Knobloch would argue. But the Golden Knights got the power play but weren't able to convert. And in a game that's decided by a razor-thin margin, sometimes it's a matter of who takes advantage of that opportunity and who doesn't. And when Zach Hyman scored in that window of the game where next goal wins, the Oilers were able to get a little bit of support from insurance from Connor Brown, and that was the end of it. So Golden Knights can dust themselves off. They can bounce right back. Game 2 at T-Mobile Arena gives them a proper forum to find that energy again, but they will have to make some adjustments. Again, execution, as Bruce Cassidy put it. They got pucks in deep, but they weren't able to win those one-on-one battles often enough, and the Oilers' transition game just a little bit better. One more point to make is that there's always, correctly so, discussions about the depth of the Vegas Golden Knights. And again, tonight was a night where they couldn't get multiple lines going, but the depth is always a strength. It's important to realize that for the Oilers, the depth is not a weakness for them either. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Evan Bouchard, of course, those guys are going to draw a lot of attention, but this is also an Oilers team that's gotten 4 goals from Connor Brown now through 7 games of postseason play. It's an Oilers team that's gotten strong production out of Zach Hyman, which is not a surprise. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, which is not a surprise. But Corey Perry now has 3 goals and 4 points in 7 games, a veteran player who can still reach back and find it in playoff hockey. So these are 2 deep, strong, experienced teams who know how to work their way through a 7-game series. The Oilers take the first volley, but for the Golden Knights, they have the experience and the savvy to answer back, and to do so with a little bit more pop on the puck in the transition game in Game 2 against the Oilers.
Taking a quick pause here to provide some updates on Round 2, just in case you missed them over the past couple of days. First up, just some updated start times for Games 3 and 4 as the series shifts to Edmonton. Game 3, of course, coming up on Saturday. That start time has been announced. It is a 6 p.m. Pacific time start in Game 3. Then Game 4 on Monday, May 12th, a 6:30 Pacific time start for that one. So just some updated start times there. 6 p.m. on Saturday for Game 3, 6:30 p.m. on Monday for Game 4. Also, some broadcast updates. Of course, as we get to the second round, the local television on Scripps Sports with Dave Gosher, Shea Knighty, and Ashley Weiss no longer a part of the broadcasting of the games, but Scripps Sports is still going to provide some pregame coverage for each of the Golden Knights games moving forward. Your favorite broadcasters will be on site at T-Mobile Arena for the home games and back at Studio 31 for the road games. Pregame shows are going to air 30 minutes prior to game time on Scripps Sports stations and on Nighttime Plus. Of course, the radio broadcasts will be there for the entirety of the rest of the season for the Golden Knights, no matter how long that goes. So you can always check out the games live with Dan Duva and Gary Lawless on Fox Sports Las Vegas, 98.9 FM and 1340 AM. Or if you want to check out the Spanish broadcast, check it out with Jesus Lopez and Alex Romo on Deportes Vegas, 1460 AM.
Well, as we mentioned, Commissioner Gary Bettman was in town for Game 1, and it's always interesting to hear what the man on top of the National Hockey League has to say, and he was kind enough to give us a few minutes this evening between periods. Here's what Gary Bettman had to say about this series and about the playoffs as a whole. Game 1 of the second round, the Vegas Golden Knights and the Edmonton Oilers, and lots of important people in attendance, including NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman, who's kind enough to stop by with us between periods. Commissioner, thanks for giving us some of your time.
It's always good to be here in Vegas. It's a fun place to watch a game, and the team is always competitive and entertaining.
Well, just to start off, Commissioner, I think congratulations for what was a phenomenal first round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs league-wide. We had a couple of Game 7s I know we're all going to talk about for a long time, but I don't think anybody got through to the second round easily in that first round. It was highly competitive.
It was, and it was fun to watch. It was great for the fans. And as our players do, they go all out, and there's nothing more unpredictable, exciting, and entertaining than our first round in the playoffs.
And in that first round, we had a couple of regional rivalries. We had the Battle of Ontario, we had the Lightning and the Panthers, a couple of head-to-heads that we've seen before. And again, every round challenging. And I imagine this is the playoff format working the way it's designed to.
You know, people are always thinking about, talking about, suggesting other ways that we could do it, but this isn't broken, so I'm not sure why we're going to try and fix something that has worked extraordinarily well. When you look at the competitive balance, when you look at the races towards the end of the regular season to even get into the playoffs, and you look at the first round like we've had this year and typically in other years, the system seems to be working pretty well.
And this is always the most wonderful time of the year for the sport with playoff hockey, but it's been a heck of a few months for the National Hockey League with the Four Nations tournament, the Alex Ovechkin record chase and record break, and of course the Wayne Gretzky tour that came along with it. We came into this playoff season with a lot of steam, it feels like.
And you forgot 94,000 people at a game in Columbus outdoors. The game's in a good place. Players have never been better, never been more skilled. The game's never been faster or more entertaining. And I think fans recognize that and gravitate even more to our game than they normally do.
With Commissioner Gary Bettman. Commissioner, I've always wanted to ask you this, and now I have the opportunity. When you're not on site at the arena as you do during the playoffs, working your way around the league, there's got to be nights where you're at home, and I've always wondered, in my house right now, hockey goes on at 4 Pacific, it goes off at 10, flicking around trying to make sure I catch everything. You have a much greater vested interest in every game than I do. Is there a mission control in the Bettman household, multiple TV screens, or are you bouncing around with the flashback button like the rest of us?
No, I have a room with multiple screens. So, I find that I can't watch more than 3 games at a time, and that works well because even in the first round, if you have one of the early games go into overtime and then you have the 2 late games, you have 3 games on. And no, I stay up. I watch the last game till the very end, and I'm watching everything that's on. And that's a labor of love for me. I mean, because ultimately, while I don't root for a team, I love the game.
We've talked hockey and parity kind of hand in hand for, it's going on 20 years now. And something I think of when I watch these playoffs is sometimes we think of parity as at the start of every season, every team thinks they have a chance to win it all. But in addition to that, into this series, you've got Eichel and Stone on one side, Draisaitl and McDavid on the other, just to name a couple. And you look what parity also means, which is that every team has at least a couple of guys that when they come to your town, you're paying to go see them play.
That's absolutely true. I kind of refer to it as competitive balance. But at the end of the day, if you look at the teams that are still playing, teams in the second round, any one of them can win the Stanley Cup. And frankly, there are some teams that got eliminated in the first round that people thought could have won the Stanley Cup. And that's what's great about the structure of our league and the way our teams compete.
Commissioner, as you mentioned, you're a fan of the game and you're watching all the games front to end. This series with Vegas and Edmonton, again, it's a rematch of a series we saw 2 years ago where one team did win the Cup, both of them could have, and both have been to the Cup final the last 2 years. What intrigues you about this particular matchup?
Teams are very evenly matched. They both have a lot of scoring power. They both can play physical. When Vegas was up 2-0, I turned to the person who was sitting next to me and I said, that's not a safe lead against Edmonton. And that just goes to the unpredictability. We are witnessing again what, if it's not a record, it's close to a record, the number of come-from-behind victories, both in the regular season and in the playoffs. And that's why, if you're a fan, you're going to get 60 minutes of hockey without knowing exactly how it's going to end. And if you look at the game on Sunday night, 1.6 seconds to go, and the game got tied in a come-from-behind and then overtime, if somebody in Hollywood had scripted that, you wouldn't believe that it was real.
And exactly right. Winnipeg and St. Louis taught us. You stay on your couch for 60 minutes and then beyond. We're with Commissioner Gary Bettman. You talked about how you enjoy coming to Vegas, and we always like to talk about the growth of the game here in Vegas. And, of course, the Golden Knights, the AHL has the Silver Knights now. Tahoe has the ECHL's Night Monsters, the youth game. And I don't know how closely you follow the club college circuit, but I imagine you're aware of it. UNLV has now hoisted a trophy. So, I don't know if there's a better example than Vegas that a rising tide lifts all boats when there's hockey success.
When we put teams in a new place, as we did here and a number of other places, the number of teams at all levels tends to grow exponentially. The number of people registered to play with U.S. hockey grows exponentially, particularly among young people. People gravitate to the game when they really have a chance to experience it at its highest level. If you look, for example, I think when the Anaheim Ducks came into the league, there may have been 4 or 5 high school teams in Orange County, California. I think there are more than 60 now, and that's all due to the presence of NHL hockey in that area.
Since the Golden Knights, of course, Seattle has joined the market, Utah has now joined the market. Has the expectation changed, perhaps, in how to get the grassroots movement involved now? Is the game strengthening, or is there more attention to getting sticks in kids' hands?
Well, I think it's both things. The game is strengthening because there's more attention to getting sticks in kids' hands. It's really about giving people the opportunity to connect with the game, making sure that there are programs set up, particularly for young people, which we think is important. Whether or not you ultimately play the game long-term or you're a fan, we believe in our Declaration of Principles states that the game teaches life skills, can make a difference in a young person's life, whether it's leadership, physical fitness, teamwork, discipline. Those are all attributes that our game teaches. And so building rinks, which actually comes with a team coming to an area, and having programs where people of all ages and all backgrounds can come to play is what it's all about.
With Commissioner Gary Bettman, of course, when you're here, you're conducting important business. I do wonder, though, you probably enjoy Las Vegas like anyone else who comes. Do you enjoy the bright lights of the Strip, or are you more of a Hoover Dam, Red Rock Canyon kind of guy?
Well, I've done those things. I've done it all. I just like to come to the game. You can go for a great meal, catch a show on an off night where there's no hockey game. I'm past my gambling phase, but this is a place that has energy and excitement, and people love to come to. And you can say the same thing about the experience at T-Mobile when you come to see the Vegas Golden Knights play.
With Commissioner Gary Bettman, I've always been jealous of you, and, there's multiple reasons, I'm sure, but I've had a chance to talk to Phil Pritchard in the past, and he tells me some of the stories he's had with the cup, bringing it around, the butterflies that he still gets, but he only gets to deliver it to the ice. You're the one who actually gets to award it. And
I just get to deliver it also to the team captain. It's the best thing I get to do, and not for the reason that I think people would focus on. Yes, giving the cup is a great honor, but to be that close to the players who've just accomplished something that they've probably been dreaming about all their lives, to see the emotion in their eyes, to see the exhilaration, to see the relief, to see how drained they are, to be that close to it is really a special experience.
And you've had the opportunity to award the cup to teams breaking long droughts in New York and in Chicago. You've had an opportunity to hand it to Ray Bourque after his career, and you had a chance to award one here in Vegas to a franchise winning their first.
Well, actually, I didn't hand it to Ray Bourque. I think I handed it to Joe Sakic.
Fair point.
Who handed it off to Ray Bourque.
Did you know he was going to do that?
I think most people suspected that Ray was going to be the first one to get it from Joe.
I'm sure you don't have a favorite, but again, in the Phil Pritchard spirit, that you still get those butterflies. Are there any of those that you look back on that still give you, chills?
No, they're all great. They're all fun. They're all special. And as I said, it's an honor to get to do it, and it never gets old.
Well, we look forward to the next one, and we hope that you get a chance to hand it out in Vegas again this spring. Commissioner, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Always good to be with you. Thanks for having
Gary
me.
Bettman will be handing out the Stanley Cup again, but right now that feels a long ways off. And, Justin, there's a long way to go in this series as well between the Golden Knights and the Edmonton Oilers.
Thank you very much, Brian, and a great chat there with Commissioner Gary Bettman, who is always very kind with his time, and he has got to be very excited with the way the Stanley Cup playoffs are shaping up right now. An ultra-exciting first round, wrapping up with 2 historic Game 7s, and now we're on to round 2, where you can make a case for any of the 8 teams remaining to lift Lord Stanley's Cup when it's all said and done. That'll just about wrap things up for today's show. Thank you, as always, for tuning into VGK Today, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform, as we'll be back every day throughout the Knights' 2025 Stanley Cup playoff run. Tune in tomorrow as the VGK insider, Gary Lawless, joins our show. Justin Russo signing off for VGK Today.